of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a materialistic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field. Yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in the atmosphere of God consciousness. And every country over the surface of the world was God fearing, pure hearted, and simple. And there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between two countries, China and India, over land, which is not very suitable for habitation, and certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is not to the issue. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of the space. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the Supreme Lord, Lord's name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of the Bhagavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast transcendental message of the Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in the duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble on our world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading man of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow that. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of the heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature, conveying transcendental messages, for reviving the God consciousness of people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literary discrepancies, despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that all our parts in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration. The leaders of the society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. When there is fire in the house, the inmates of the house go out to get the help from the neighbors, who may be foreigners, and yet, without knowing their language, the victims of the fire express themselves. And the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast the transcendental message of the Bhagavatam towards the political atmosphere of the world. After all, it is technical science of the spiritual value, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of the great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. And there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world. There is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or a nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of age of Kali or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of self gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect the censor of obscene literatures. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature. Yet it is there in the marketplace because people want it for self gratification. The people in general want to read and the natural instinct. But because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literatures like Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice like condition of sense gratification. When men have taste for this literature, they're hankering after other literature which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by such an authority as Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. Hare Krishna. So, next half an hour, we are going to discuss actually. There is a lot of things to discuss, but time is very less. So, mm, yesterday, actually, the major part of the same sloka was covered by the other speaker. Today, we will try to see the same sloka from little different angles and we will see the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam also. That's very cool. So, in this particular section, actually, the context of the sloka is such that now Narmani has just appeared in this chapter. Vyasdeva was feeling despondent. He was feeling bad actually that he has written so much, he did so much, but still he was not feeling satisfied. So, what is that he is supposed to do so that he feels satisfied? So, in this particular sloka, these are the four major themes that Purport talks about. First one is spiritual content is more important than literary elegance. So that is the first theme actually of our discussion. The next theme of discussion will be Bhagavatam creates a revolution. Bhagavatam is the medicine. And the root problem is the polluted consciousness, and the fourth one is the devotee should help spread Krishna Katha. So how much ever possible we try to discuss. Actually. So let us see actually, in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, when Lord Krishna disappeared. In this age of Kali Yuga, specifically, there are two incarnations of the Lord which are very important, specifically for the practicing sadhakas. Which are the two incarnations? Holy Name and Srimad Bhagavatam. Correct? Krishna Swadhama Upagate, Dharma Jnana Vidisha. So Krishna, when disappeared from this material world, Krishna again reappeared in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam and in the form of chanting the holy name of the Lord. In fact, Parikshit Maharaj allowed for Kali, personified, to appear. The main reason was that the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, people will be taking shelter of that. And Srimad Bhagavatam is going to disappear. So it's going to appear. So if we see, then this mobile is so if we see actually time and again, scholarship or other aspects of you know materialistic things are not given so much importance as compared to devotion. Which all pastimes comes to your mind when you see that scholarship is not counted, but a devotion is counted? Yes, Tarun Krishnapur, pastime like South Indian Brahmana, very famous pastime, correct? Which other pastime? Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about many pastimes. Yes, but he did not encounter any scholars. No, Srivas Pandit and Gopal Chapla, correct? Gopal Chapla was giving Srimad Bhagavatam class and his disciples, they throw away actually Srivas Pandit out of the class thinking that is a Bhagavad Bhakta, correct? Similarly, like recently there was appearance of Ganga Mata Goswami, correct? So Ganga Mata Goswamini was a princess actually, and she stayed in Vrindavan along with Krishna Priya Mataji. And this Krishna Priya Mataji and Ganga Mata Goswamini, both of them they were disciples of Haridas Pandit, not Haridas Thakur, but Haridas Pandit, who established the worship of Baki Bihari temple in Vrindavan. So this Krishna Priya Mataji also was actually very devotional, and so much so that she would not be able to stop chanting the holy name of the Lord. And one day she was sitting like this in a Bhagavatam class, and Roop Kaviraj was giving Bhagavatam class, and she was chanting also simultaneously, and she was hearing us. So what happened to Roop Kaviraj? He got little disturbed, and he said, "Hey, how can you do both things simultaneously?" So she felt a little bad, and she was very advanced devotee. And what was the result to this, so-called Bhagavatam speaker? Became ghost. And the prediction is given that whoever offends devotees, finds fault with devotees, the ghost of Kaviraj will come and haunt them actually. Correct, no? Like. Similarly, And those of you who have gone to Guru Ayur actually, there is one very famous pastime that happened actually between two great devotees. One is actually Punthanam and the other devotee Narayan Bhattiti. So this Puntanam is a great devotee of the Lord, and but he's not so much good at you know reciting slokas and describing the glories of the Lord and all. But he would love describing the glories of the Lord. So one day he was there just in front of Guru Ayura Appan, and he was describing the pastime of the Lord, and he was saying Narayana Mara Prabhu instead of Narayana Amara Prabhu. Amara means actually the demigods, and he is the Prabhu or the master or the you know leader of even the demigods. Correct? In Shrimad Bhagavatam also time and again the devotees when they offer praise, like Uttara also says, Deva Deva Jagatpati. Correct? You are Deva of the Devas, like that. So he says Narayana Mara Prabhu instead of Amara Prabhu. So then this Narayana Bhattacharya actually was a great scholar. He said, "Hey, what you are reciting?" Because this comes actually in Vishnu Sahasranaam, this name. He said, "What you are reciting?" Again, Kuntana becomes little scared and sorry, sorry, galti ho gaya. I was not knowing that how to recite actually. So he said, it is not Narayana Mara Prabhu. Mara means actually the trees, the dead living entities, or the living entities which are behaving equivalent to dead living entities. So it is not that the Lord is the Lord of the tree, he is the Lord of the Amara, the demigods. Immediately the Lord was there in the altar. He felt bad. He said, "What you are talking? Don't you think that I am not the tree, Lord of the tree?" And then the Lord comes out actually in the form of that big tree. And that is why if you go to Guru Ayurappan, you will see that actually the Lord's form is there in the form of tree also. So time and again, all the literatures, all the pastimes of the acharyas, all the bhakti literatures, they talk about that devotion counts over anything else. Can you tell me one pastime that devotion is more superior to mystic powers? Durvasa Muni, classic pastime. Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. Okay, devotion is more power, it supersedes than physical strength and one's own capacity and everything. Okay, Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, very nice. Which other pastime? See, Hiranyakashipu was like, all powerful, but Prahlad Maharaj devotion superseded him. Okay. Which other pastime? Famous pastime. Draupadi, who said? Yes, very nice. See, Draupadi, when she just called out actually for Krishna, immediately Krishna supplied unlimited amount of sari. Correct? And Dusasana, who was having the power of an elephant, he was gasping, pulling out the sari like this entire, assembly was filled with actually clothes. But then he was fainted kind of unconscious only. He could not, do what his leader has told him, Duryodhana and Karna has told him. Okay. Okay. Can you tell me some pastime of devotion superseding uh, mental speculation or the mental strength actually that one has? Devotion actually supersedes all the Brahman Patnis actually their devotion is superseding actually all the ritualistic activities and the mental power that the Brahmanas had to recite and remember and um, conduct yagya and recite slokas and everything. Correct? So their devotion superseded actually the external rituals of doing yagya. Okay. So like that, we can analyze actually this sloka from this particular theme. The devotion supersedes all the other, external literary mistakes or whatever mistakes actually that one commits. Correct? So that's why it's important that when we talk about Raganuga Bhakti, many times we see in Vrindavan and all, like, these rules are not applicable because devotion supersedes. So yesterday only actually, Arjuna sent you an article of uh, Shivram Swami Maharaj that what when bhoga becomes actually prasada. So there actually Maharaj writes that the Brajavasis they don't offer. So they have so much devotion for Krishna and the cowherd boys are sitting with Krishna. There's some anything is there actually first they eat and they say it is very tasty, very nice Krishna eat. So their devotion is actually superseding what? All these external formalities of offering and all. Of course, we cannot, imitate it. Like one time Prabhupada was there actually in Western countries. And Prabhupada went inside the kitchen and devotees were making very nice gulab jamun and they have already soaked it in the sugar syrup. Prabhupada went inside the kitchen and he took one gulab jamun, saw it like this. in this, put it in his mouth. And devotee came and said, Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, what? Prabhupada, it is kitchen. In kitchen, we are not supposed to eat, right? Wherever actually bhoga cooking is cooked for the Lord. That is why actually the pujaris, they put actually on the mask also and on the head also, so that our contamination doesn't touch, or we don't contaminate the, prasadam or the bhoga that is cooked actually for the Lord. Prabhupada said, no problem. Then next another devotee said, Prabhupada, it was not offered. Prabhupada, no problem. But I can do it, you cannot. Like that Prabhupada said. So we cannot imitate Prabhupada actually, correct? Because Prabhupada's devotion actually supersedes. So when the pure devotee who is there actually, who has realized this, you know, uh, Chitta Deha, who has realized this actually eternal Swarupa with the Lord, in case whatever he does spontaneously, we need not find fault with those devotees. So they may be chanting, simultaneously they may be talking. They may be chanting, they may be attending class. But we cannot do that. Correct? Otherwise, we will do offensive chanting actually. So it's important that we don't imitate the devotees, but we rather follow the footsteps of the Acharyas, what is being told. That is why Prabhupada said, I can do it, but you cannot. So, like, so this very famous pastime of Kundanam and Narayan Bhattacharya actually tells us that devotion actually supersedes all the other parts of scholarship and everything. The Lord loves actually the broken word of his devotees who offer anything actually with the devotion. Correct, no? Like that. Okay. Any other pastime that comes to your mind where devotion supersedes the external formalities, where something is being prepared with so much, pomp and show, and many items are prepared. The Lord did not accept, but the Lord accepted something very. Duryodhana offered it actually 56 items to Lord, and Lord ate what? The Ruko Saka Vidurugare Khaya, correct? Like that. Similarly, when this pastime of Durvasa again visiting the Pandavas in the forest of exile, when the Pandavas were there, and he comes actually with his 10,000 disciples. That time, our, Kunti, our Draupadi Mata again calls out for Krishna, Govinda, please come and save. Immediately Krishna appears there. And Krishna appears and comes and says, Bharat describes actually, Krishna comes and says, Draupadi, I'm feeling very hungry. कुछ है क्या खाने के लिए Draupadi says. Hey Krishna, what you are seeing? I called you because I'm already in anxiety. Nothing is there. This fellow already went. Durvasa is there along with his 10,000 disciples. If we don't feed him, he is going to curse us actually. And with that motive, Duryodhana has sent him here. And you are also saying that, you are feeling hungry. And kuch to hoga. Some one grain is there actually. Just give that one grain. And that one grain was given. And then what happened? Yasmin tushkam, tushtim, jagat tushtim. And Krishna is satisfied, the whole world is satisfied. Correct, no? Okay, so now, if time permits, we'll try to see the next theme. The third and fourth theme actually will be by default covered in the third theme. Actually. So Bhagavatam creates a revolution in the life of, impious life of actually people in general. So we'll discuss quickly this story of Dundukari and Gokana. Previously, once in one Sunday morning Bhagavatam class, our class we have discussed in detail, but today we'll try to see how much ever possible. So actually, there was one Brahman called Atmadev. So this Brahman, Atmadev, he was a very pious and amazing devotee, and he would do all sorts of his responsibilities, Brahminical activities very nicely. But somehow or other, by power of destiny, he was married to a girl who was very good looking, very beautiful, but qualities wise, she was like a demon. So she, her name was Dunduli. So the Dunduli, she was attached to her body and she was attached to her bodily comforts. So much so that they were married and she was thinking that in case if I have a child, I have to bear the child actually for 9 months in my womb. Then what will happen? So much pain will be there actually at the time of delivering the baby. Second thing is my body, physical body, the physical beauty will go away actually. So somehow or other, actually, I should make some ways, some means that I don't, get pregnant, and I should not be get a child. Like that, she was very cruel-hearted actually. But Atmadev was trying actually from all permutation combinations to have a son because it is said that putrahinam graha shunyam. Correct. He says, Chanakya Pandit says, in case at home child is not there, son is not there, then such a house is like as good as crematorium only, like that is correct. Of course, for devotees, it doesn't matter because the law devotees accept the Lord is their son. Like, Indrajumna Maharaj and, Indrajumna Maharaj, when he worshipped the Lord appeared and he asked for three boons. What are the three boons he asked? I want that, you should give your darshan 24 hours. Second thing, you should eat so much so that as soon as you eat and wash your hands, before your hands dry, again you start eating. So your Mahaprasad will be available for all the devotees. And third benediction is that I don't want any son because I want to accept you only as my son. And because if I have a son, my devotion will get diverted to some other objects. But then, beside him, his wife is standing, Mundi Samata. She is becoming insecure. "Arey, you don't want son, but I want son. She asked the Lord, Lord, he doesn't want son, but I want. The Lord said, I will only become son for you. And I will come and do all the Shraddha ceremonies. That's why the Lord goes to Gundeza temple. And one of the reasons it is said that actually the Lord comes and performs Shraddha ceremony actually for Gundeza Devi and for Vishnu. Anyways, so we were discussing actually about this Atmadev. So Atmadev was thinking that who will do the final rites and all these things if I don't have a son. But then Dunduli was attached to her physical body and all. So Atmadev, was in great anxiety and he was in great fear and he was feeling very bad. So one day he was there in the outskirts of the village and there some saintly people were there, some Brahmanas were there. So this Brahmanas, one Brahman was there actually. So this Brahman told him that actually I will give you some special fruit. If you give this fruit to your wife, then your wife actually for sure she'll become pregnant and then after 9 months she's going to deliver a baby actually. So then this Atmadev was very happy. Before this actually, this Brahman was trying to teach the science of soul, to Atmadev, saying that actually you are not this body and this, why are you worrying so much? Just perform bhakti and go back to Godhead. Don't think too much about all this. But then Atmadev was saying, no, 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 at least somehow or other I want it. Correct? Na? So Atmadev was also a little attached, you know. Even though he was a great devotee of the Lord, but still he was having some attachment to have his son. When the Brahman said, to Atmadev that please give this fruit to your wife and tell her to follow these qualities. So what are the qualities he says to follow her? This sloka there, you can repeat after me. Satyam Socham Dayadanam Ek Bhaktam Tu Bhojanam Varsavadi Striya Karyam Tena Putroti Nirmalaha. So he said that please tell your wife to follow these five things. Satyam Socham, she should speak truth. Then she should keep clean, do not remain dirty, correct? And she should be kind to others actually, Danam. She should give actually charity to others. Because she was very miser actually, Dunduli. And she should be, eating food only once in a day. Eka bhaktam tu bhojanam. One time only she should eat actually food. Then after 9 months, what will happen? After 1 year, she is going to give birth to a baby. Actually, correct? So Shrimad Bhagavatam 7:11:20 it actually describes the qualities of chaste women, that women are supposed to be chaste. Actually, today's the precarious situation of the world is that the men, they are failing in their duty to protect the women. And because of that, they exploit the women. And because of exploiting, the women want to become like men. So they dress themselves like men and they also want to behave like men and all. So it is not that it is the fault of the women. Rather, it is actually the fault of the men. That they are failing actually in protecting the men, women. Like, day before yesterday only, one of my relative nearby, my house, they called me and they said they have a daughter and she want to marry a boy. And the daughter, she's, her age is actually 27 years, 28 years old. And this boy is a good boy, but the family is somehow or other, their ego problem is coming. They don't want to marry her. All caste and everything is matching. But still, because she has selected and she has not consulted us, that is why they don't want to get her to marry to him actually. Rather, they want another boy. I said, this is nonsense actually. Because, after all, she also has her choices. And at right time, failed in your duty to get her married. Now she found out a proper man. And she is fulfilling all the terms and conditions also. That she is not marrying another caste boy and this, that, and everything. Why don't you get her married? Tomorrow she may run away and then she will come with police protection. That time you all will say, Amara naak kata diye. Now, just get her married. But then the father, he is saying, no, no, mera ichha se, shaadi nahi hua. So he is finding out now another match actually. And the girl is saying that, Papa, you may find out another match, but this boy is a very good boy actually. He's of good character actually. And he'll take care of me also very nicely. And the father actually came and bet her this, that, and all that nonsense he did actually at home. And then the mother came in between, he bet even mother also. Then the elder son came actually and then he bet the father actually. How dare you touch my mother actually, like that. So home became full chaos. And then the father went actually, he ran out actually for committing suicide. I'm going for committing suicide. Then they called another relative, and that relative brought him, and he pacified, and he said, finally they told the girl, actually, you compromise in front of your father. So many times, actually, the men they fail in their duty in order to protect the women actually and the opposite gender. I'm not saying that doesn't mean that all the time actually the men only are at fault. Sometimes actually even the women are at fault. So one should know that man is failing in their duty actually to protect the women. That is why they are actually behaving in this way. So the duty of a chaste woman that actually she should carry out the order of the husband in whatever circumstance or situation. We all know that another story that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes actually in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that this chaste lady was there and her husband was not chaste actually. Husband was after that prostitute actually. You know, and eventually so much so happened that this chaste lady, she stopped the movement of the sun and for in order to bring out the movement of the sun, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, all three of them have to appear, and then they have to give her darshan and benedict her. And the husband was also actually revived back. Correct. So that story also we discussed actually in that particular class. Now, in this particular story, if you see, so Atmadev, he brought the fruit at home and told her wife, please eat this fruit and you become pregnant and the Brahmana has benedicted us. For sure, we are going to have a child. But then, uh, as Dunduli was attached to her body, so she was thinking what to do, what to do, what to do. So she called her sister actually, who was also staying in the nearby place. And as this girl was like that, her sister was also like this. The sister was too much greedy actually for money. So Atmadev was very well to do actually with monetary benefits and all. But sister was very poor. So she said, I am also pregnant. When I give birth to my baby, I'll give my baby to you. And in turn, you give me a lot of money. Okay. So then this Dunduli said, okay, no problem. I'll give the money. But what to do? Because the husband will ask, are you, pregnant or not? So you, every time what you put a cloth and then you put pillow and then you increase the size of your stomach so that everybody understand that actually you are pregnant. And at the time of, delivery, we will, pretend that you had a miscarriage and this, that, and everything like that. So they actually derived the plan, and the father of this Dunduli actually he was also involved because Dunduli gave money to father also. So Dunduli's sister, Dunduli's father, and Dunduli, all three of them are involved in this kind of scam actually. Eventually, this fruit was given actually by Dunduli to the cow who are there in their cow shed only. At the end of 9 months, Dunduli's sister gave birth to the baby son, and actually his name was Dundugari. And this Dundugari was brought, to Dunduli, and it was given to Dunduli. And Dunduli's sister, she pretended that actually I had a miscarriage, and the child died actually in the womb only, and this and everything. But somehow or other, the cow also gave birth actually to a baby, and the baby was like a human baby, but the ears were like the cows. So his name was given like Gokarna. So Atmadev was very happy that instead of one son, I have now two sons. One is Gokarna and another one is Dundukar. Like that. So, but Dunduli actually she was not pregnant, so she did not give birth to a baby. So breast milk was not there. So she said, okay, some problem about actually breast milk is not there. Anyway, my sister is there and she is having miscarriage, and her breast milk is there, so she can be called and she can feed actually breast milk to our baby. And Atmadev agreed, no problem. Somehow or other, the son should be taken care of. So then Dunduli's sister came and she was feeding breast milk actually to Dundugari, and he was born actually with all bad qualities. And Gokarna was born with all good qualities. Eventually, Gokarna goes out actually to Haridwar and other places of pilgrimage for learning and getting enriched spiritually actually. But on the other hand, this Dundugari at home, he was creating all sorts of nonsense. He used to bring prostitutes at home. He would enjoy with them. He will drink alcohol, and he'll beat his mother only. So the mother who was like, so much attached for her bodily comforts and everything. Now the reactions are coming. So, it is said that one can, run away from one's own karma. You know, timing one can avoid it, changing the circumstances, situations, not. But one will not be able to avoid what is written in one's destiny. So then, at one point of time, this Dunduli actually just, jumps actually in the well and commits suicide because he was harassed so much by this Dundukari. And Dundukari again, continued his enjoyment and everything. But now Atmadev was getting very much disturbed. He was thinking what to do. My son is such a nonsense. He's creating so much trouble for me. So time is very less. I just cut short. So he was thinking, what is this? What kind of son actually is born to me? So he was cursing himself and he was feeling very bad. And that time he said this. कोऽर्थपुत्रेण जातेन यो न विद्वान् न धार्मिकः कालेन चक्षुषा किं वा चक्षुपीडेव केवलम्. What is the value of a son who is neither learned nor religious? Such a son is compared to a blind eye. That is only a source of pain. He is thinking, I had no son, that was better situation than having a son. In Bhagavatam also this kind of realization another personality gets. Who? Anga Maharaj in relationship between Vena. Initially thinks, I don't have a son, better to have a bad son than having no son. And then afterwards, better to have a bad son than having good son. Correct? Why? Because when bad son is there, you are not attached actually to family and all. Automatically you are like getting detached and you will go away like that. So he gets away, his realization actually reforms and then eventually goes back home back to God. So Atmadev was also feeling like this. Meanwhile, actually Gokarna comes at home. Gokarna instructs his father that, you know, he says this line, you can repeat. Vairagya raga rasiko bhava bhakti nishtitaha. You can repeat. Vairagya raga rasiko bhava bhakti. So he says that you take rasa, you take enjoyment in vairagya. How come one can take enjoyment in vairagya? Actually, the real enjoyment in the material world is there actually in being and becoming detached. Because we are not in our body. If we try to gratify the senses, we won't be happy. So when we detach ourselves and attach ourselves to Krishna, Rag Rasiko, Bhava Bhakti, one should perform actually devotional bhakti or devotional services with, all emotions actually, putting all one's heart and consciousness actually. Then all these external tribulations which are there, those things will want trouble actually. So then he instructs his father, Gokarna instructs his father, and he tells him that you do these, six things. So there is Satyam, I have written acronym also. So he says, you take Sadhu Sangha, you start appreciating good qualities. Even the bad things are happening, in that also you start appreciating good things. So then he starts appreciating that I have a bad son, not a problem. But because of that bad son, I am now taking Vanaprastha and going out in the forest and eventually I'll perfect my uh, life and go back to old age. I don't have to meditate on the faults of my son, Dundukari, like that. And then Tyajaloka Dharman, give up all the useless labor, working hard to maintain the so-called family members, which eventually anyway are going to give us trouble and everything like that. Then why is yearn to give up sense pleasures? Because staying in Grahastha life or staying within this material body actually one gets attached to the pleasures of the senses that one derives. And A refers to always remember Krishna and M refers to meditate by enjoying devotional. So Gokarna instructs actually, his father for all these things. And then we all know, just now I told you that Dunduli actually she commits suicide. So the karma, she will not, that will be there always with you. But eventually you all know that Dundukari actually, he brings all these prostitutes, starts enjoying at his house. One day this, Dundukari, steals some property of, the king from the kingdom and from the temples. And then the prostitutes, they become insecure, thinking that actually all this, king and everybody, they'll find out that who is the source of, who is the person who stole actually all this money and everything. So we will be also caught and we will be punished. So they all came together, they tied, they first, made him drunk like anything, they tied him like anything, and then they actually tried killing him. But then he was not dying only. So then they took hot charcoal and put in his mouth. Whose mouth? Dundukari's mouth. Still he was not dying. So then they actually put the house only on fire. They took all the gold, jewelry, and everything, and they ran to another kingdom actually. And Dundukari now is killed, but he became a ghost because he performed all this kind of nonsense activities. Troubled his father, he troubled his mother, he performed all kinds of sinful activities. And when Gokarna comes, he requests Gokarna that please, somehow or other, please deliver me. So then Gokarna finds out, okay, what way I can deliver you? So then he goes in the outskirts of his village, and there was a Vishnu temple. He performs austerities, and the Lord Surya, Lord Surya appears because Brahmana instruct him that Surya Dev is very famous. He is Guru of whom? Hanumanji also. He is very famous actually for delivering people. In fact, uh, there is Uttarayan and there is Dakshinayan. So when somebody leaves body in Uttarayan only, then only they will get moksha actually. So Surya knows, and his another name is actually Surya Narayan, correct? So he's very famous, as a scholar and as a devotee. So you can inquire from him, he will tell. So then Gokarna worships Lord Surya, and Surya Dev, appears and he says in this. Look, I can repeat after me. Shrimad Bhagavatam Muktihi Saptahe Vachanam Kuru Iti Surya Vache Sarve Dharma Rupam Tu Vishrutam. So he says that you decide, Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days to your, brother Dundukari, he'll be relieved actually from all these ghostly bodies. Then he goes on saying that what to speak of ghostly bodies, even, one has performed all sorts of nonsense actually, just as fire burns everything and anything without any discrimination. Like that, recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam will burn away all sorts of nonsense. So Prabhupada in purport of 1340 writes that one can derive from the study of Srimad Bhagavatam all benefits that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. It carries with it all the transcendental blessings of Lord Sri Krishna that we can expect from its personal contents. Correct? So we all read in Bhagavatam, Guru Maharaj got darshan of the Lord, Narad Muni got darshan of the Lord, then Chitraketu Maharaj got darshan of Lord Sankarshan. We can get all those benefits just by hearing and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Correct? Like that. So eventually Gokarna, long story cut short, this last certificate. The Gokarna actually recites Srimad Bhagavatam to his brother. Brother gets delivered and he goes back home back to Godhead. But when he was reciting Bhagavatam, all the villagers were also sitting. So everybody goes back to Godhead, but the villagers were staying there only. So the villagers were asking, "Arey, hum nahi gaye, kaise go?" Dundukari went back to Godhead. Please, tell us. That time Gokarna tells them that, sorry, the Haridutas who came to take actually Dundukari, they tell the reason that why the villagers they did not go back to Godhead. So they say that actually here they say सर्वस्य विभेदेन फलभेदोऽपि संस्थितः शृण्वन्तु कृतं सर्वे न तथा वदनं कृतं. So they say that actually Dundukari used to do every day night, the meditation, contemplation on the subject matter what was discussed. Yeah. But you all were not doing. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sometime later we'll continue the remaining part. Hare Krishna.